So in the last class, what we did was we discussed about tokens, where we have discussed about the various kind of tokens and that are supported by Python, and also we have learned like what exactly these tokens are. Also, we have discussed about keywords, which is one of the first tokens that is being supported by Python. Okay, so if you talk about any programming languages, they're constructed on the basis of some sort of basic building blocks or basic elements. Those elements are basically the tokens, or we can also say tokens are the individual units of a programming language. Okay, and if we discuss, then the tokens of Python programming language can be classified into the following types: keywords, identifiers, literals, operators, and punctuators. So yes, in the last class, as I was discussing about the keywords, we came to know that there are total 33 keywords that are supported by Python. Okay, we've also seen that keywords are basically those reserved words which have some sort of reserved meaning, or which have some sort of specific meaning for the interpreter or the compiler that we're using. In case of Python, we generally use the interpreter. So definitely, in generally, we are basically using the interpreter. So yes, if you talk about keywords, then all those 33 keywords have a specific meaning for the interpreter. Okay, we cannot use this as per as our choice. Okay, which we have already seen practically in the last class, where we have declared a variable, and in that variable what we did was we gave a name from this keyword, and it was not accepting, and it was throwing an error. So by that we came to know that this words are already reserved and we cannot use it as per as our choice. Okay, coming to the next token is basically the identifiers. Identifiers are basically those tokens whose identity is being set by the programmer, okay, so they generally don't have the identity, so that identity is being set by the programmer. Okay, for an instance, we can take the example. Okay, let's say I need to have a variable, and that the name of that variable is, let's say, my name. Okay, my name. Okay, and here I'm going to store my name, Alex. So you can see that we have stored the name Alex in a variable my name. Generally, by default, Python didn't have any reserved meaning for this variable my name, or for this variable for this word my underscore name. Okay, so the moment we give some sort of meaning, or the moment we give some sort of definition for this particular word, we call that word, or we call that object to be as identifiers. Okay, here you can see that we have given a meaning to this variable, or to this user defined word, that is my underscore name, and that is basically storing the value Alex. Okay, so whenever we need to display Alex, or whenever we need to get the value of Alex, we'll be using this variable. Okay, we'll be using this variable whose identity is being set by the programmer. Now, why we are calling this as identifiers? Because obviously we are assigning a string value to this, or values of let's say combination of characters, right? Here we can see that Alex को अगर अच्छे से observe करें, then we have some sort of characters A, L, E, and X. Once again, we have this double quotes, okay, which are to be treated as special characters, and all this helps us to store the value of Alex inside this particular variable. Okay, so since we are defining the identity ourselves, that's why we call it as identifiers. Okay, uh, before defining or before using an identifier, there are some sort of rules that we must follow. Okay, the first rule says that an identifier is an arbitrary long sentence of letters and digits. Definitely an identifier should be composed of letters and digits. Okay, apart from that you cannot use anything else. Okay, then the second rule says that the first character must begin with a letter or the underscore. Okay, the first character must begin with a letter or the underscore. Okay, it cannot begin with any numerical value. For example, let's say I need to have one my name. So this is not possible. You can see that we are getting an error over here. We are getting a curved red line. So it signifies that definitely there is some sort of error, and this is not a valid identifier. Okay, so we cannot have any identifier using a numerical value. Okay, this is the second rule. Yes, and it also says that, but instead of having a numerical value, you can definitely have underscores, because underscores are acceptable. Okay, but yes, it cannot begin with any special characters other than underscore. Okay, so this is the second rule. The third rule says that upper and lower case characters are different for the identifiers. That means it is case sensitive. Okay, So it treats uppercase characters and lowercase characters differently. For an instance, you can take the example of this. Here I'm having a variable, okay, or yes, as we discuss, or as we say it as identifiers with my name here, am is in lowercase. What if I have a separate variable with am in uppercase? So will it make any difference? So here I want to store, let's say, Ram. Okay. The moment I print the values or display the values in program, you can see that my name is going to print Alex. It is not going to print Ram. Whereas both the meaning for human is same, but for program, for the computer, it is not the same, because both of them are treated separately, because they are using different case. They are using different cases. For the first one, we are using a lowercase character, and for the second one, you can see that we are using a uppercase character. So how can we understand that both are being treated differently? There is one more instance that I would like to give, so that you can understand that both of them are being treated in a different way, and that is by printing the memory address. You can just have a look at it. In Python there is a function. Please try to understand this. In Python there is a function. The name of the function is id, and the purpose of the function is to print the memory address of the corresponding object, or the corresponding variable, or the corresponding identifier. ठीक है, समझ में आ रहा है? तो विल बी यूजिंग दैट फंक्शन इन ऑर्डर टू प्रिंट द मेमोरी एड्रेस, यानी कि मेमोरी में कौन सा लोकेशन इसने लेके रखा है. We can generally use this id function to get that. Okay, so you can see I'm printing the address of both the identifiers, one with uppercase and one with lowercase. So the moment I execute the code, you can see that the address of the first identifier is 435409426. Okay, but for the second variable of the second identifier is 43553606888. So that means both of them are stored in separate memory location. Both of them are stored in a separate memory location and are being treated differently. So I hope this rule is also clear, that uppercase characters and lowercase characters are treated differently in Python. So if we talk about the next rule, that is the digits 0 through 9, okay, can be part of the identifier except for the first character. It means that we can use this numerical values to name the identifiers, but yes, we cannot begin the name of identifier with the help of this numerical values. Okay, for an instance, you can see that if I need to have one my name, so this is not possible. But if I have this my name 1, so this is acceptable. Okay, so this is acceptable. Here we don't get any error. Here you can see that we are not getting an error. Okay, so my underscore name 1, for this we are not getting any error. But yes, we cannot have numerical values before the name of the identifier, or start the name of an identifier with the help of numerical values. Okay, so it is not possible to begin the name of an identifier with numerical values, but definitely at suffix you can have. Then the next rule says identifiers are unlimited in length. Case is significant. That is, Python is case sensitive, which I've already explained. It treats uppercase characters and lowercase characters separately. Okay, there is no limitation like this many number of characters should be there, or up to maximum this many characters you can have as the name of an identifier. There is no limitation as such. Okay, yes, as you can see that the length of characters the identifier is unlimited. Okay, but yes, practically we know that nothing is unlimited. Okay, definitely there are limitations. Okay, that depends upon the memory as well as the maximum capability, but yes, we generally treat it to be as unlimited. Okay, and if we talk about the next rule, it says that an identifier must not be a keyword of Python. An identifier must not be a keyword of Python. So if we consider these keywords, you can say that in the last class which we have already seen, out of these keywords we cannot use any word as the name of an identifier as per as our choice. So the moment we start using these keywords as per as our choice, we start to redefine these keywords, we'll be getting an error, okay, in the interpreter, by the interpreter. Okay, and the last rule that you can see is an identifier cannot obtain or cannot contain any special characters except the underscore, which I've already explained. Okay, So these are some of the names of valid identifiers, and these are some of the names of invalid identifiers. You can see we can have this valid identifiers, like we can begin with underscore, we can have upper cases, we can have upper cases then space and underscore, right? We can have underscore in between. These two are the examples of underscore in between. Okay, we can have the combination of uppercase and lowercase characters. But yes, these are some of the cases, or these are some of the instances of invalid identifiers where we cannot have the underscore in between, where the identifier name cannot start with numerical values, where we cannot have keywords, where we cannot have special characters other than underscore. Here you can see they have used the special character dot, so which is once again not acceptable. Okay, so this is some of the valid, or this is some of the classic examples of naming an identifier, as well as some of the rules of declaring an identifier. So yes, let's move ahead to the next concept, and that is literals and values. Whenever we talk about literals or values, okay, so literals can be expressed as those objects or those tokens which are the values of some sort of variables that we set. Okay, here you can see that in name, my underscore name, so this was a variable which was storing the value Alex, which is a combination of characters. Okay, obviously English characters. Okay, here you can see this is a string literal. Okay, literals mean values that we set for the identifiers that we have used or that we have defined. Okay, generally we use literals or values for variables. Okay, uh, because those are some of the things that we assigned to define the meaning of a variable. Okay, but in this case you can see that my underscore name is a variable which is storing the name of some person, let's say Alex. Okay, so yes, I hope you understood that this is an example of string literal. Why this is to be considered to be a string? Because it is storing combination of characters. Always remember that whenever we store combination of characters under double quotes, we classify that value to be a string. Okay, we classify that values to be a string. But for numerical value, we need not to use double quotes. Please try to understand. For numerical values or numerical literals, we need not to use double quotes. But if we place numerical values inside double quotes, it will be treated as string. It will be treated as string. Okay, because it won't be able to understand that whether you're passing you're passing a special character or something else. The moment it will see that you're ending the literal with a double quote or a single quote, it will understand that definitely the programmer is sending me some sort of string values. Okay, and it is going to treat it as string. Okay, although you're passing numerical values, but it will be treated as string. Okay, but if you pass if you pass the numerical values, in that case what you need to do is you need to pass the numerical values without double quotes or without single quotes, यानी कि बिना single quotes या फिर बिना quotation marks के तुम लोगों को जो है numerical values pass करने. So if you pass the numerical values without quotation marks, it will be treated as numerical values, else it will be treated as string. Okay, so yes, the first kind of value that we understood was the string literals, where we'll be storing the string values, and in order to store the string values, we'll be using double quotes, okay, or single quotes. Just keep in mind that we need to use quotes. Okay, so in within single quotes also you can have, these are the single quotes as you can see. Okay, and within double quotes also you can have. Okay, it is up to you. Okay, there is no such rule that for a single character you need to use single quote. You can have multiple number of characters within single quotes also, as you can also have double quotes. This is up to you. Okay, but for numerical values you do not to use double quotes. The reason is because if you use double quotes, it will be treated to be as string. Okay, let us try to understand this with an example. Okay, a is equal to, let's say, 10, is equal to, let's say, 20, is equal to 10, b is equal to 20. So the moment we print the value a plus b, you see that we are getting the value to be as 30. We're getting the value to be as 30. Okay, so the moment we print a plus b, we are getting the value to be as 30. Okay, but if we write this in double quotes or single quotes, whatever it is, and perform the operation a plus b, here you can see that we're getting an error, because it says that we cannot add an integer with string. We cannot add an integer with string. Obviously, it is not possible to perform mathematical operations with string. समझ में आ रहा है? I hope uh, it is We can perform mathematical operation, but we cannot perform arithmetical operations like addition. Okay, uh, like numerical addition or something like that. We can perform addition of strings, that is a separate thing, but we cannot add integers with string. Okay, in that case it will be will be getting an error. But what if we perform addition of strings, that we will be learning in the upcoming classes. What it will do, it will concatenate. That means it will add this to, like, let's say we'll be getting the output to be as 10 1020. We'll be getting the output to be as 1020. That means 1020. Okay, but this is not the sum. Okay, this is not treating as numerical values. That's why we're getting as 1020. Okay, so this was all about string literals, numerical literals, and the next literal or the next value that we have is boolean literals. For boolean literals, we generally use two boolean values. One is either false or the other one is true. Okay, so how we set the values? It is very simple. You can see over here. For example, if I need to set a boolean literal, what I will do is I will be using true. Okay, so you can see that moment I have typed true, it is automatically changing the color to orange. Okay, why it is changing the color to orange? Is there any specific concept behind this? The answer is obviously yes, because it is automatically sensing and it is saying that it is a keyword. That's why we are changing the color to orange. It is a keyword, so that you don't get confused. We are changing the color to orange. By default, PyCharm, what it will do, it will automatically change the color to orange for any keyword that we use. For any keyword that we use. Okay, yes, we can change the color. It is up to us. We can change the color as per our choice. It depends upon the theme. You have the option to set a custom theme in PyCharm. Okay, so this is up to you. Please explore in case if you find any difficulties, that I will be explaining uh, you in the next class. But yes, you can set a custom theme as per your choice. Okay, but by default it is to be treated as orange. Okay, is there anyone who want to ask something? You will get the option of to personalize this entire ID. For any ID, you will get options to personalize as per your choice. Okay, so this was a boolean value true, and in case if you need to set a boolean value false, it is very simple. We'll be using false. Okay, so the moment you can see I've used false, it is treating it as boolean value. Okay, so here you can see that the moment I use the function type is a function which will give you the data type of a particular variable, which will give you the data type of a particular variable. So here I'm using a, that means I'm passing the value a inside the type function. So, and I'm printing it. So the moment I print it, you can see that it is saying bool. Bool means it is storing boolean value. It is storing boolean value. Okay. And yes, there is one more literal, that is none. Other day, I think Shashwat was asking me one question, that is there any option to to set a value, to set no values when we don't know that what kind of data type we are going to store for a particular variable, or how can we initialize a variable by without setting a value, because Python is a dynamic programming language. So for that we generally use none. Whenever we don't know that what kind of value this variable is going to store, we'll be basically using the value none, because none means that we are not setting any value for this particular variable. It is going to stay as it is. Okay, so here you can see that the color of none also got changed to orange, because it is once again treating this as keywords. Okay, yes, so that's it for this literals like string, numerical values, boolean, special literals like none, or literal collections. Okay, so yes, I will be discussing about collection, but before that I got one question from Shashwat. So do we have loops and if else statements in Python? The answer is obviously yes. We have loops and if else statements in Python, but yes, if we talk about loops, since you, I guess you know about the different type of loops like the while, do while, and for. Please type Y Shashwat in case if you have any idea about this loops. Yes, exactly. Okay. So yes, this many different type of loops are supported by Python. Okay. Sorry, other programming languages. But if you talk about Python, Python only supports while loop and for loop. Okay. Only these two loop are supported. It is FOR. I think you made a typo. So this is FOR. Do while is exit control loop. Exactly, do while is exit control loop, and it is not supported by Python. In Python, we have only two different type of loops. Okay, that is while and for. Okay, we'll be coming to this concepts. Those who are new in this journey of programming languages, please don't get confused. Uh, we'll be discussing about this very soon. But as of now, I have discussed about string literals, numeric literals, boolean literals, and the spatial literal, that is none. And if we talk about literal collection are basically the tuples, the dictionaries, and the sets that we'll be learning in the upcoming classes. Okay, so this was all about literals or values. Okay, so if we go by the concept of tokens, we have already explained. I've already explained keywords, identifiers, and literals. So that's it for today's class. In the next class, what we'll do is we'll be learning about the last two tokens, that is operators and punctuators. Okay.